Okay, you see the thumbnail. You see the thumbnail. Should the New York Giants bring back Saquon Barkley? So I'm thinking about it, right? I'm thinking about it. You're looking at the guy that has been the face of the franchise, since he's been here. Since Odell Beckham left, Saquon Barkley has been the face of the New York Giants. Absolutely. Absolutely. But it's hard, man. It's hard when you think about it. It's like, okay, so do you tag Saquon Barkley? Do you give him a contract? How many years do you give him if you are giving him a contract? Do you try to shift this whole dependency on Saquon Barkley out of there? There's a lot of different scenarios when it comes to, whether or not you re-sign Saquon Barkley. Now, I'm always going to say if the price is right, fantastic. Let that man retire a Giant. How much money does Saquon Barkley think he's worth? We got an idea of what he thought his worth was last year when he decided not to sign the contract during the bye. Ended up getting the tag. And pretty much held out. He stayed on that tag until the last minute. Came in for training camp and stuff like that. But Saquon Barkley is probably thinking he's worth 12, 13, 14 million dollars a year. I'm telling you guys right now, I don't believe the New York Giants give him anywhere near that. Anywhere near that. I think it's going to be closer to what he made this year if they do offer him a contract. And if they do offer him a multiple year contract, so say you want to give him 3 years like you wanted to give him last time, or 2 years like you wanted to give him last time. Okay, say you want to sweeten the pot. So you go 3 years, let him end his career as a New York Giant. If you believe he has 3 years left, which I think he probably has about 2 to 3 more years of just dominant Saquon Barkley, if we can actually have a dominant offense, whatever that means or whatever that looks like. But to me, I'm sitting here like, okay, Saquon Barkley, would you take 10 a year? Would you take 9 with some incentives? Would you accept a deal like that, Saquon Barkley? I don't know if he would. I don't know if his pride or ego will make him, turn something like that down, and then it ends up becoming the same thing that it was last offseason. But do you end up tagging Saquon Barkley? Can you even tag Saquon Barkley? There's been some arguments back and forth, or that if they would even try to tag Saquon Barkley, or they try to let him walk and see what he can get and then come back with that to see if we can match it or something. Like, I don't know. I don't know exactly, but here's the thing. I know there's going to be a point in time where the New York Giants will not have Saquon Barkley. That could be the near future. And how do you adapt to not having Saquon Barkley? Daniel Jones is heavily dependent on Saquon Barkley. And when you look at every other team in the NFL that's dependent on one running back, it does not look good for them. I mean, outside of the 49ers and McCaffrey, but they got a whole damn offense out there. They got receivers, tight ends, a quarterback that's doing this thing. But when it comes to the New York Giants, it's like, okay, you got Saquon Barkley, and that's about it. That's about it. Me personally, and please don't hold this against me. Actually, if you do hold it against me, I don't care because it's my opinion. Thank you guys for tuning in. Go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button while you're at it. For me, I'm moving on. I'm ripping the Band-Aid off. We might suffer, but we're already suffering now. We become too dependent on Saquon Barkley. And Saquon Barkley is only getting older. So do you continue to hold on to Saquon Barkley through the latter years? Or do you go ahead and try to move into the new century of football and get yourself a guy that can pass the ball and move the ball and spread the ball around? And then you have a complementary running game, not a running back, a running game, which means multiple running backs, if it works out that way, to go ahead and move and push this offense into this generation of football. But that's just my thoughts on it, man. Please let me know in the comments down below what you think about Saquon Barkley in that deal. Now, the other contract we want to talk about, or I want to talk about, is Xavier McKinney. Now, if I had to pick between the two, keeping Saquon Barkley or keeping Xavier McKinney, I'm keeping Xavier McKinney. Right now, it looks like the money might be the same. Now, if Xavier McKinney is asking for Derwin James type money, you got to let him go. We can't afford it. We can't do it. We can't afford it. If he's asking for 18, $19 million, that's what some of the top safeties are making. If he's asking for that, we can't afford it, man. Xavier McKinney is gone if he's asking for that. And even if you tagging him, it's going to cost you like $17 million. So it's a lot of money. That's a big decision for Xavier McKinney. Big decision for Joe Schoen and the New York Giants. And when you're thinking about, okay, if you would have asked me a few weeks ago about Xavier McKinney, you know what? I was, it's 50-50. If he stays, he stays. If he goes, he goes. And then you get those few weeks where the defense is playing outstanding and Xavier McKinney is a big part of that. You're like, okay, well, we can give him some money, but it gotta be friendly for the team, because again, we don't have a lot of money going into 2024. So I'm sitting back like, okay, I want to keep McKinney. But it depends on what he's asking for, but he has, I'm loving what I'm seeing right now. He's maturing in the defense. Wink Martindale and him have seemed to squash whatever issue they were having. It can only go up from here. But when I think about it again, it's all about the money at the end of the day and how much Xavier McKinney thinks he's worth. How much would you pay Xavier McKinney? Go ahead and put that in the comments down below and let me know what you guys think about it. Because there's a lot of positions that need to be addressed. A lot of positions. The offensive line needs to be addressed. You're going to do that in free agency and the draft. The secondary has to be addressed with Adoree Jackson leaving too, possibly. And trying to replace him with either a veteran or trying to go through the draft for the cornerback. Now, Xavier McKinney as well. Do you need to draft for safety or sign a safety in free agency? We don't have a lot of money to address all of these holes. It's a lot of holes, man. The defensive line needs to be bolstered. The edge rush room needs to be bolstered. We can use another linebacker behind Bobby Okereke and Micah McFadden. I'm still holding on to hopes that Darian Beavers can come back and be a quality guy that they can put into the rotation next year once he's fully healthy with the knee, because we saw him this offseason. As much as I was behind Darian Beavers, he didn't quite have his speed back. He didn't quite have his legs the way he needed to have his legs. And now he's getting the rest of the time to heal. And hopefully next training camp, he's even better and even more ready to go, that he can actually make the squad, make the 53, and be a constant contributor on the team, because I really do like Darian Beavers. But I'm just sitting here like, okay, Xavier McKinney, I think it's all about the money when it comes. I would like to have Xavier McKinney back. I said I would like to have him back now. And if you gave me the choice of, you can either have Saquon Barkley or Xavier McKinney, right now, it's going to be Xavier McKinney, because I think he lasts longer. He'll be around longer. And when the New York Giants are finally ready to compete, I think that, Xavier McKinney is still young enough and plays a role where, he'll be more important. Somewhat important, or more important than what Saquon Barkley can bring you at the time. So it just depends on where the New York Giants at. Now, if there's some kind of way that we can bring both back and is cap friendly, then fine, fantastic. But right now, the way that I'm thinking about it, you give me the choice between those two, I'm going with Xavier McKinney. Don't blame me. Don't blame me for that. And then lastly, at least for this video, what do you do with Adoree Jackson? Now, some people say that Adoree Jackson still has one big deal left in his contract or in his career. He has time for one more re-up. I don't think so. I don't think Adoree Jackson is getting top corner money anymore. I don't think he has one more grasp or one more chance to get big money at cornerback. I don't think it's possible. What I think is he's going to be one of those guys that becomes just a veteran that you sign later on in training camp when you guys go down. I think Adoree Jackson is falling into that part of his career. Could he be more than that? Absolutely, because he still can make plays. He's still a pretty good cornerback, but he's not a CB1, and he shouldn't get CB1 money. He's a good mentor to the young guys, so we are able to keep him on a cap-friendly deal too, then fine, fantastic. But if we were to lose Adoree Jackson, even though I think we'll have a lot of bumps and bruises early, whoever they find to replace Adoree Jackson, I think that's the way to go when it comes to it. Again, let me know what you guys think about that in the comments down below too, because I'm loving these discussion about these contracts. Even though we have some games left in the season, these are just some of the thoughts going through my mind when it comes to what the New York Giants can do with some of these expiring contracts going into the 2024 season, off season, free agency and stuff like that. So that's going to be the video. I want to thank everybody for vibing with me. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And from one Giants fan to another, this is Big Dash Knows, Big Blue Nation. Let's go.